there was a report that actually came out today or yesterday that the Patriots are interested in Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a top 10 potential pick in this year's draft. You guys have what pick this year?
15.
Do you see yourself trading up to make some competition for Cam? Realistically, as a Patriots fan, I want you to give it to me straight. Justin Fields, yes, no. Do you want him? Do you think it's a good idea? What's running through your mind?
Yeah, sure. Who wouldn't be opposed to the idea of adding Justin Fields? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Look, I mean, Cam's on a 1-year deal. And
$14 million, though, that's a pretty hefty deal for somebody who sucked it up last year.
It's really incentive based, though. His base salary is only like $5 or $6 million. It's not that much. But they really loaded it with incentives. Which, I mean, if Cam wants to go out there and ball out, he can hit those incentives. He's got the pieces to do it. But to get back onto the point about Justin Fields, yeah, it would be a solid pickup. I think they would have to trade up, though. And depending on some of these teams, maybe you could look at a situation where you trade up maybe to take Denver's spot in the draft. I believe Denver has a top 10 pick in this year's draft, and they have Drew Lock. Now, does Denver move on from Drew Lock and maybe draft a quarterback this year? Who knows? But I know New England could definitely look at some of these teams that are in the top 10 of the draft this year who don't really have a situation at the quarterback spot. You could maybe look at somebody like the Bengals. The Bengals don't really have a quarterback issue to deal with. Could New England make an enticing package to where they could trade up to get the Bengals spot in the draft? Maybe. And like with Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields would be a great add for the team. But there are some other quarterbacks they can go after. Mac Jones is probably going to be a top 10, maybe an outside shot to get to the top 15. I don't know if he's going to slide all the way to like 15 where New England's sitting. But yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea of Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is an extremely competent quarterback. Now, he's a little bit smaller. He does kind of give me that Kyler Murray type feel. But as long as if New England were to get him, he would have a great offensive line protecting him. And, I mean, the weapons around around Justin would be great, but it would set up a really interesting QB competition between Cam and Justin. But I still think that Cam would end up getting the starting job.
Justin Fields is 6'3".
Oh, I thought he was shorter. He looked shorter on the field than he did.
Kyler's like 5'10".
I thought Justin was a lot shorter. Maybe, you know why? I'll tell you why. Have you ever watched Ohio State games?
Yeah.
You know where the camera's positioned in that stadium? It's set up like really high.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I look at that sometimes, it gives me the impression that those guys are shorter than they actually are. And I think with Justin Fields, like with him, I didn't know he was 6'3". I thought he was like 6 feet. So.
No, 6'3", 227.
If he's 6'3", that's fine. Yeah, it'd be fine. I mean, Brady was like 6'4", 6'5". So, yeah, Justin would be fine. And he's more mobile. He's a great mobile quarterback.
Oh, yeah. He's like a younger Cam to a certain extent with a less powerful arm. Because we all know Cam had a cannon coming out of Auburn.
Not an accurate one, but.
They didn't say it was. It was a cannon. Shit.
I mean, I don't know if it's really the same anymore now after that shoulder surgery that he had a couple years ago.
No, we all know what it was. He looked like Phillip Rivers out there throwing ducks to a certain extent.
Rivers was getting it done, though, at freaking age 40, even though he could barely throw the ball 30 yards anymore.
Yeah, nevertheless, it's just it's something I wanted to throw out. Like I said, I saw the report whenever that was, whenever I texted you or sent you the tweet. I had to get you on the podcast and ask you right, to your face, because dude, Justin Fields could change the dynamic of that organization. And like, I know you guys wanted to go in the route of a mobile quarterback, and like the first half of the season, it was panning out. Like, you know what I'm saying? You guys had a really good show out for a couple of games, and then Cam got COVID. Justin Fields is 22 years old, has a good arm, comes from a good system in Ohio State, and is mobile. I mean, who's to say it's not a younger Cam? Like he ran an unofficial 40 of, I think it was a 4.5 or a 4.4, and he said he's going to get it even lower. So the kid's talented.
Cam was a major athlete coming out of Auburn, though. Major athlete. So
tall, poised, durable, strength, fast.
But Justin is a lot more accurate, and he's not as turnover prone.
Yeah.
Rarely turns the ball over. So
can you picture a system with two strong tight ends like you guys are going to have, and then a quick receiving core and a nice running back system back there? I mean, that's for a young guy to inherit a system like that under Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels.
The offensive
might be cooking again.
The offensive line is pretty solid going into next year because they re-signed David Andrews. You guys
got Trent Brown.
Yeah, you got David Andrews back too, and people were thinking that he was going to be on the way out after they re-signed Ted Karras. So with the way that things are looking for New England is definitely looking like a playoff team next year. But the biggest issue on this team is quarterback. What's going to happen at the quarterback spot? And maybe the receivers, just because you got Julian Edelman coming back. He's in his mid-30s. He's probably on the edge of retirement at this point. But
I would say so with all the injuries he's been battling.
But New England's main issue for the last couple of years is these receivers and their inability to separate from defenders. Now, Jacoby Myers is one of those guys from within the system that has actually done fairly decent so far. But when it came to some other guys like N'Keal Harry, I mean, Gunnar Olszewski's fast, but they don't utilize him a lot in the offense yet. But just when it really is kind of an indictment on N'Keal Harry when they go after Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, and those two tight ends. And the tight end position is even worse because those two kids that they drafted, I believe it's Devin Asasi, I'm probably screwing up his last name, and then Dalton Keene, believe he was from Virginia Tech, and then Asasi was from UCLA. When you go out and sign two tight ends, and those two tight ends were at the top of the free agent market, those guys are screwed because Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry are going to be the main workhorses for that tight end spot now. And they need to get to production from that area of just the position on that offense, because I think last year, I think the tight end, the tight end production from the two rookie tight ends that they had last year was 5 catches for 55 yards.
East.
It was awful, bro. So,
East.
I mean, hell, it could be the first game where freaking Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry could get 6 catches for like 80 yards and a touchdown, which would outproduce what those two guys did last year entirely. So the main issue on that team, I think the main issue with the Patriots is essentially on the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively they're stout. Defensively, they're going to be fine.
I would agree. You guys are getting a lot back. Obviously, Patrick Chung retired, but I mean, still got the McCourty brothers and stuff like that.
We're pretty deep at the safety spot, and it does give like a guy like Jojuan Williams a shot to really take that next step into his career. They drafted him, I believe, 2 years ago, and he's shown some flashes in his time with New England so far. So I think with Patrick Chung, I think maybe the writing was on the wall, because I think New England is probably going to go younger at that safety spot, because Devin McCourty is kind of reaching that last leg of his career, and you're definitely going to see some younger guys really start to pop out at that safety spot, probably after Devin retires.